Hello, hi. Um, got a couple of questions here today that I have been asked following my foray into Facebook and as to any questions that people had. Um, these two are quite the biggies, what I call biggies, that it's not just a case of, well, I put my house up for sale. What do you think? Is it likely to go this year? Or I've applied for this job. What do you think is likely to unfold? What will the people be like there? What will be my potential opportunities? Those kind of questions, they're more straightforward in a way, aren't they? And I'm just going to explain something to anybody who doesn't know how I work. I call myself an intuitive personal empowerment consultant. And that is because my work is about forward movement. It's about personal empowerment. It's not about fortune telling. I definitely offer predictions, but we know for sure that if we do A in life, A happens, and if we do B, B happens. And it isn't a cop out. I can say, an excellent track record for accurate long-term prediction. However, predictions often come with conditions attached. Um, and, if we need a little bit of scientific backup there, although I have no idea how this works because I'm not, a scientific brain. But for example, Einstein's theory, the fabric of time, my basic understanding is that he says that we're not just traveling through space, but through time as well. And therefore, in his reckoning, the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. Now, that's a very, very simplified understanding of it. But it kind of made sense to me that that is how we are able to predict. And he also said something along the lines of that the future that exists simultaneously has potential twists and turns in it. So that kind of also made sense to me because I've been saying for a long time to people, look, life is not black and white. It's not just set in stone with only one pathway ahead of any of us. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any point in being alive because we'd all be dancing to some tune pre-written before we were born. And we'd have to hope that whoever wrote that tune was in a good mood on the day they got to us. Of course, there are things that pop up in life that we have no control over. That is true. And we can't change other people directly. And so with those, circumstances that we didn't create and that we have no direct control over, at least we have one thing left, and that is a choice in how we respond to the thing we have no control over, or to the person or people that we can't change. It might be small comfort, but at least we still have that. But, our everyday life is made up of many, 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 many choices. Now, sometimes we find ourselves in a really tricky situation and there are egos involved. And when I say ego, I don't mean people just being big-headed, but egos, individual people's perceptions and feelings and their stance and, their approach. And sometimes these clash with one another. And so it's tricky. You'll see this in families over and over again. And sometimes people are in huge emotional pain and they want the pain to go away. They want it to be right now, today, because human beings naturally gravitate away from emotional pain and towards comfort. That's what we do. And so, yes, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. There are circumstances where there is no easy answer because we're dealing with our own tangled emotions, the contents of our own, even sometimes unconscious mind that's impacting upon us without realizing it. B, we're dealing with other people's crap and stuff and their unconscious stuff. C, I don't know, I started with A or one, but anyway, here we go. And C, sometimes we're in the middle of a process that has to unfold. And so, an intuitive consultation, intuitive consultations with me are about personal empowerment, finding ways forward, but we also have to be realistic. Sometimes, excuse me, something's tickling my lip. Sometimes we're in a situation in which we can only take tiny steps for now. And because people are really, really hoping that there is a bigger answer that they can use now. Sometimes they will be disappointed or angry with a consultation. Not always, but sometimes they will, because they know deep down inside that they've still got to be in this process. But at least an intuitive consultation can help us to maybe understand things a bit better, understand ourselves better, and start taking those steps. And it can also say to us, look, if you carry on the pathway you're on and thinking the same thing, doing the same stuff, well, this is how it's likely to unfold. But however, if you can do this and if you can change that, that's how it's likely to unfold. Okay? So it's very important to understand the nature of an intuitive consultation. And again, the reason I say personal empowerment, because that's really what it's about. That is the reason we have intuitive intelligence, is to help us. It's not spooky. There are business people who, have intuitive consultants, and they will call on them when they've got big decisions to make. And they won't necessarily live by everything that is said, but they will take it on board. It's another piece of another piece of a jigsaw in a bigger puzzle. Jigsaw piece in a bigger puzzle. You know what I mean? Right then. Okay. So are you with me? Are you with me? So there's 2 questions. And this is the first. Should I get out of this relationship? I am full of self-doubt. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm not lazy. I have always managed to see past adversity, to pick myself up and develop by using life's experiences. But I am running out of strength and I need to be strong for my child. Now, there are different issues going on here, because she starts off by saying, should I get out of this relationship? But then she says, I am full of self-doubt. Self-doubt. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So this is another issue. This isn't purely to do with the relationship. This is to do with how she's feeling about life. And then she's saying, but I'm not lazy. I can normally sort this stuff out. I can normally manage to get through problems and to pick myself up and keep going. But basically now what she's saying is, I'm weary. I can't see the wood for the trees. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, up or down. And that is the hardest part, when we don't know whether we are being reasonable or unreasonable, whether we're right or we're wrong. Okay. So, even when I'm reading this question, I can feel the anxiety and tension in my chest. I can feel it. It's palpable. That's clairsentience. We're all clairsentient, because we all not just feel happy, sad, but we feel things, if we really become aware of ourselves, we'll be amazed by what we do feel, what we do pick up. I mean, how many times are you around somebody with a headache and, you sometimes don't even know they've got a headache, and then you develop one and they say, oh, I've got a headache. And you think, oh, that's where I've got it from. Or somebody says, oh, I've got a headache or a sore leg. And before we know it, oh, me too. So it's clairsentience. And that's what I'm feeling from this poor lady, is anxiety. Now, it's very, very clear. Intuitively speaking, I'm going to close my eyes while I focus here, because that's how I see best. Intuitively speaking, she's become very isolated, as if she's like, I've just been editing photographs before and trimming them down, and that's what it looks like to me. So she's in the middle of a photograph and we're trimming, so the space around her is getting smaller and smaller. And I think, well, intuitively, this is what I'm feeling, is that she can't just make everything right. And this is what I'm feeling intuitively, and it's tough. But this is the beginning of another process. And in the bigger picture, I don't feel that this lady can be true to who she is and can develop in the way she has the potential while she's in this relationship. Now, I don't want to say that, because, it's tricky, isn't it? I do believe these two people do care about each other. But intuitively, I feel a partner is very, very, very frustrated. And I believe that she's been managing to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then she's reached a point where, as she says, she's running on empty. And I can't see intuitively how it can be put right. However, it's only part of a process, and more time will pass. And intuitively, I do feel that, in a way, over the next few months, she will find ways of feeling a little better. She will get her breath, she'll get a second wind, and she'll keep going. But I don't think that things have been right for her really for about 18 to 24 months. And I think she's known that deep down inside. And I think she's been trying to push certain things to one side, push certain things to one side, but they keep coming to the fore. And I feel that her partner does love her, but has the capacity to be quite moody and quite changeable. Now, he will feel with her, he will feel it, whether he's conscious of it or not, that she goes into retreat like this. She goes into retreat, and the sadness within her. Now, we read each other all the time. Human beings read each other without even being aware that we do. And so he will be picking up on that. And I would say that what he wants out of the bigger picture and what she wants are different. But there's no way in the world, and I'm being honest here intuitively, that I can see these sitting down and really communicating intelligently and calmly and deeply. It's just not in that place. It's not in that place. And so I do really feel for her. So she says, should I get out of this relationship? Well, even if I said to her, and I'm not saying this, by the way, but if I was to say, listen, save yourself, run as fast as you can, run. Okay, she wouldn't do it. And it's not that easy because, we don't just, generally speaking, we don't just pack a bag, walk on and completely and utterly forget what's gone. There is guilt, there is emotion, there is sadness, there is anger, there is anxiety. There are all these emotions. Okay, so intuitively, I am saying that I feel that this lady is moving towards her own bigger and better future, and it's a step-by-step process. I believe that over time, she would be under the shadow of this relationship, and she would be repressing a lot about herself and about her life. But she's not in the place right now, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, practically, financially. She's not in the place where she can suddenly just recreate a whole new life. But I do feel she needs to take care of herself. I do believe that that this relationship, the other person in question, I believe they do have the habit, they have the tendency to maybe start becoming wound up over a period of time. And so I do feel like saying to her, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. So I've got to be honest, it's not a pretty picture. And my job is not to make people feel better by saying, oh, don't you worry, everything will be wonderful and perfect, darling, everything's fine. But what I'm saying, this is a very intelligent woman. I'm saying that she's done her best. And I also feel that a partner, in his way, in his own way, has done his best. Sometimes, we might feel that another person can behave better, and maybe they could. But maybe that's all they've actually got to give. We might think, well, they should be able to deliver more. But sometimes it's a sad truth that sometimes that's all they've got. And I think also her partners will have the capacity ahead to play games and to blow hot and cold and to be changeable. And so she is going to be feeling as if she's living on eggshells. And what she's been doing for a while is, when things have been okay and settled, she's been thinking, I can do this. But increasingly, when they're not, she's struggling. And when she says, I am full of self-doubt, intuitively, I know what she means. She's saying, I can't have faith in myself. I can't have faith in my own judgment. And one part of her wants so desperately to be free. She really wants to be free, but she doesn't want to just run off into the sunset. And, she's realistic, and she knows that it's not going to be easy. But goodness me, wouldn't we all like a magic wand sometimes? Wouldn't we? I tell you what, I would. And so she's an honourable person, and she wants to try and do things in the right way and in the right order. But at the same time, she also knows deep down inside that this is probably not going to get any better. So she's in a little bit of no man's land, but she's not lost. Somewhere within her, she knows that she has to move on, that there's bit by bit, step by step, there's going to come a point in time at which she will have to move on with her life. But it's a process that will lead to that point, as opposed to just, I mean, she could, look, going back to if we do AA happens and if we do BB happens, she could technically pack a bag and walk out now. She could do it. I'm not saying she will. She could do it. And it may be that within the next few months, certainly well within 12 months, if she can't get herself just out of this place that she's in, then that's probably going to be the answer. But what she's trying to do is avoid that. She's trying to sort it out. She's trying to make sense of it. She's trying to make head and tail of it. So one of the pathways that lies ahead of her is that she makes some little changes, but she does her best to keep the peace, keep the peace, keep the peace. And then she gets pushed to a point where she says, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to pack a bag and I'm going to go somewhere, stay with somebody, whatever it is. And then intuitively, I can see that her partner would then be incredibly sorry and want to bring her back. And then over a period of time, she'd feel sad, she'd feel guilty, and she'd maybe give it another go. But then within weeks, she would realize that it was not the right thing to do for her. And so she has got different pathways ahead of her. And so she needs to really, over the next 2-3 weeks, actually over the next couple of months, as she's going about her business, breathe, start looking at it from different angles and start preparing for the next bit, okay? And that is the most that I can say to her. So my predictions are that she cannot stay in this relationship forevermore, amen, and be the woman she really wants to be. And she knows that, and that's why she's unhappy. One of my predictions is that the partner will be changeable and moody at times, and he has the capacity to up the pressure if he senses that she's changing or she's slipping out of the net. It may be unconscious, but nevertheless, it's there. I do feel she has to take care of herself. And I do believe that there will be a period of time, even beyond moving on in a practical way from this relationship, where there will be a healing period required. So can you see, with all the best will in the world, people come to me for consultations and sometimes they just want a wonderful, nice answer. They sometimes want me to tell them that everything will change, the partner will change, they will become happy again. And if I can't tell them that, they become angry because they're afraid. If, on the other hand, I say, well, look, there isn't a magic answer and I can see moving on, but it's a step-by-step process. Sometimes they still become angry again because they're still afraid. But it is what it is. There are times in my life and I thought I will never get out of this situation. Never. But I did. And I bet you're the same. That you have had those times in your life. So, nothing is wasted. And over the next 12, 18 months, this lady has the capacity to start to shape and form her life in a way that is better and healthier for her. Okay? And she's not ready to do that yet. She might want to, but in here, she's not ready. And she'll talk herself out of it, and then things will settle down a bit, and she'll say she's feeling a bit better. But deep down inside, she will know that still the biggest problem still remains. And so her being full of self-doubt is because she can't trust her judgment, because she can't believe she's in this situation right now. And she doesn't know what she's doing. So it has to be one small step. So I hope what I've said today helps her. It is a process and you're not going crazy and what you're feeling inside is right. And you'll work it out bit by bit. You work it out step by step. Be brave. Okay? And that's the best I can say to her. Let me just check the time on this. Oh, they've changed the way they do it. It's gone up there now. Right, I've got 10 minutes left. And here's the second question. My landlady has given me a month to quit my business premises. I have been the perfect tenant. The same thing happened 4 years ago with my previous landlady who kicked me out at my busiest time. Why is history repeating itself? What is the lesson and what are my best options? Well, I know a little bit about this from the question, because I shortened the question. But basically, she's had no issues with the landlady. Everything's been fine, hunky-dory, no problems. Whereas with the other landlady, there were tensions developing over time. Okay, let me just see what I can come up with intuitively. Let me have a little tune into that. So what is the message here? Well, intuitively, it seems that this lady, deep down inside, has been feeling unsettled, and it's something she will need to think about. So at one level, she will say, this is my business premise, and this is my business, and these are my plans. But somewhere within her, I can feel it. There has been a doubt. And why is that? Is that doubt there because she is a natural worrier, because she thinks, well, it's happened before, will it happen again? I'm not sure that's the reason. I think it's something else. I think that there is something bigger and better out there for her. And I think somewhere within her, she knows that. And I actually think intuitively, or I feel, shouldn't use the word think because it's not a think, it's a feel. I feel intuitively that there are two premises ahead. And one of them is definitely linked with a place that is close to the sea, near to the sea. I know where she's based now, it's, there is sea not far away, but there's two different places. And this landlady here, she's got someone else in mind. I feel she's thinking that she can do something more with this. And she's got issues of her own going on in her own life. And she's certainly having some issues with a man or arguments with a man. So this is her landlady. So intuitively, I feel that a landlady is a bit up in the air, that she's all over the place. And she is having some issues with a man. So I don't know, possibly a relationship. And she's having arguments with one or two people. So this landlady is getting into conflict with other people. And there's something going on here. It's almost, like that saying, oh, cut your nose off to spite your face. It almost feels like that. And so I don't know what's going on with her, but I don't feel it's directly related to this lady asking this question. It might feel like it is, but there's a bit of chaos on the landlady's side. And I also feel that in terms of the great energy of attraction, not the law of attraction, the energy of attraction, that I think she's got some time to play with. So I would be surprised to see her immediately having to go. It feels to me like there is a little bit of leeway here. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there isn't a bit of discussion or a bit of negotiation. And I also feel that she has the capacity to expand the time a little bit. The lady asking this question, if she really wants to. So, but even if, and I don't think this would happen, but even if the landlady said, you know what, I've changed my mind, everything's fine, you can stay. It's almost like something's been set in motion now, and movement is important. Moving on is important. So although it's scary right now, this lady has gotten to where she's gotten to with very hard work, and she's had insecurity, she's had doubts. Anybody out there who's self-employed, we know how tough it is. I promise you it's tough. And in fact, I am going to do a little video on that as well. Because we're all seeing these people on the YouTube, aren't we? And it's, hey, look at my big house and look at my Ferrari and blah, 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 right? My online business. Look, anybody can have an online business and work anywhere on the planet. You could sell sausages, if you're going to be delivering them through the post, and you could call it an online business, and you could work anywhere in the world. So it's not just having an online business that makes money. It's going to be the nature of the business that you're in. And so, we're having this pushed at us, and we're seeing all these highly successful people, but it's really complicated and it is a struggle. Recently, I received emails from somebody who is a best-selling author, who is, quoted by Oprah and Tony Robbins and various other people. This is an amazing woman, and she's this, she's that. But yet she was sending out emails offering her personal coaching skills at a reduced price. Now, that's absolutely fine. I do that myself. Lots of people in business do. All the biggies, that are on here, on YouTube, they're all doing that. But this lady, then, presents that she's a best-selling author and she's got all these people who think she's great. But I thought, but she's still obviously struggling for business a little bit. Otherwise, she wouldn't be doing this. So business is tricky. It is tricky for all of us. I may be wrong, but I can't see any reason why she would be doing that. So, I kind of thought that kind of reassured me in a way. Now, I know I've digressed there, but we're talking about business here. And this lady here has asked this question. She's been in worse situations than this. And I know that she will get through this. And so my intuitive assessment is that it's time to move on. And that even if she said, oh, you can have another X amount of time, I still think it's time to move on. I think she's got more time yet to play with. I think it's more to do with the landlady and her life and her issues. There's stuff going on there that has nothing to do with the lady asking this question. I feel that in the end, she's going to be looking at two different premises. And I actually think that she can end up with two premises running at the same time. And so expansion is what's coming. So I think looking at here, why is history repeating itself? Well, it does. I've seen history repeat itself in my life again and again. I don't know, maybe it's to do with us and our programming. Maybe it's just something that works with us. But what I do know is that, it's almost like it's pushing you upwards. This is not bad news. It feels like bad news, but you know what? I don't think it's bad news. And what is the lesson? Well, the lesson is have faith because you've always been okay. Same as me. Do you know what? I've always been okay. I've always been okay. Everything's always worked out in the end. But then, of course, what we're trying to do is push it beyond okay. A few yards up the road from okay. So right now, I would say that she should keep calm. I would say that she needs to think, remind herself of what her bigger plan was. And yes, there's going to be disruption. Yes. But you know what? It's not going to be the end of the world. And by February, March of next year, if she's taken the best approach, she's going to be doing absolutely fine. So my advice here is don't enter unnecessarily into conflict you don't need to enter into. Okay. Let the next 2 or 3 weeks pass. You're going to learn a few things. You're going to hear a few things. You're going to understand a few things. But I am definitely seeing you packing up. So I do believe you will be moving on. But it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Okay? And I think by the time 5 months have passed, you will feel as if, wow, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am now. So that's what I have to say there. So there was one other question I was asked, and it was, am I going to have another baby? Now, there are certain questions I just don't want to enter into, I'll be honest with you, because they're not, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's for fortune telling, I don't know, but to me, no. For example, one of the questions I will never answer, and I have been asked this over the years, and I did, it's a horrible question to ask. The question itself is not horrible, but am I pregnant? What? Go and have a pregnancy test, okay? Please go and have a pregnancy test. It makes me feel low energy in here. It's just me, how I want to use my intuitive skills. The other one is, what sex is my baby? I don't know. I'm an emotional reader. I can say, well, this baby feels very, very strong-willed, very masculine. So it's either a boy or it's a very, very determined girl. Or I might say it feels incredibly girly. That's what I can say. But to be honest with you, I don't really want to. This question, will I have another baby? Well, it's borderline. It's very, very borderline. If somebody is asking me, for example, look, I've really wanted to conceive, but I've struggled, then that's different. So all I'll say to this young lady is, yes, I do believe that you will have the capacity to have another child. And I don't think we're waiting another 24 months down the line. So it's within that time period. And I actually feel, that you need to make it part of a bigger plan. So my answer to the question is, I'm not dissing you for asking, by the way, please don't think that. But it's not one of the bigger questions of life, although I know it will be to you, but yeah, I think you will. And I think that in a way, it won't be totally planned. It feels to me as if it'll happen, but you won't be totally and utterly in control of it or planning it exactly at the time. Okay, so I'm nearly out of time now, so I'm off now. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you've heard something